Thank you very much, and welcome to everyone here. It's a pleasure for me to be here. My name is Edward Klaassen. I head up the regional hub for East Africa for the European Investment Bank, and I'm based here in Nairobi. Before I speak about the fund and our commitment, I say a few words about EIB for the ones of you who don't know. The European Investment Bank is the bank of the EU. Our shareholders are the EU member states, and we support projects that are in line with EU objectives and EU policy goals. We're often also called the climate bank because a lot of what we do supports climate projects. But we don't only support climate projects, we also support more general sectors like water, transport, social infrastructure. And here in Kenya, for example, we are the largest financier of the Lake Turkana wind farm, which is the largest wind farm in Africa. We've supported most of the expansion plants at Olkaria, the geothermal plants here in Naivasha. We're currently financing large water and sanitation projects in Kisumu. We're building a road between Mombasa and Mariakani. So that's what the EIB is known for. But we actually also do a lot of support for SMEs. And we do this support through SMEs through various products. We support microfinance institutions here that then on lend the capital we provide them with to small companies and even to private individuals. We are a large financier of the local banks here. Again, the idea when we provide them with capital is that these banks can then on lend to SMEs. For example, we're currently working with Equity Bank, but we've worked with many banks over the years. And finally, and that's why we're here today, we also support venture capital funds, private equity funds, and infrastructure funds. Over the years, for example, we have supported 124 funds in Africa for a total amount of 2.5 billion euros, and these funds have already supported more than 1,500 companies on the continent. Today here, I'm very pleased to announce a 30 million euro commitment from the European Investment Bank to Seedstars Africa Ventures Fund 1. This is a very significant investment for the fund, and I'm very proud to be here and to support this new, young and dynamic team based here in Nairobi and in Paris and soon in more places across Africa. A few words on venture capital. Some has already been said, but also from our perspective, venture capital is a relatively new asset class in Africa. It is perceived as high risk, and therefore it is very difficult for fund managers to raise these funds. It's not been made easier with recent developments. It's crucial, though, to have venture capital in a thriving economy. Young companies, startups, they need equity. They first need equity before they can raise debt from a bank. Most of the companies this fund will support cannot go to a bank. They're not bankable, there is no collateral, they might not even have significant cash flows yet. So they need equity first, and that's why funds like Seedstars are very important for a private sector, for a thriving private sector economy. And not only the capital, as they've already explained, so I will not go into that, they also provide support, contacts, network, and coaching, and let's say value-added services like that are also crucial for young companies. Especially currently in the world economy, it is very difficult to venture capital fundraising has dropped. I mean, some figures have already been mentioned. Last year was fundraising figures have plummeted across the world, and certainly also in Africa. Some of the reasons behind it, of course, are we had the COVID pandemic, we had the Ukraine invasion, and now we've had more global shocks, and including having higher interest rates has led many investors to withdraw to their home market, to stay in the US or stay in Europe or stay elsewhere. And suddenly investing in venture capital in Africa is considered even more high risk, and therefore they are careful to make those commitments. So the announcement I'm making today here together with Seedstars is an important one. It's for us to stress that the European Investment Bank is still here to continue to support African startups and SMEs at this very crucial time when the economy is struggling. We believe the investment in Seedstars has a few very significant elements which I would like to briefly explain to you. Out of our 30 million euro commitment, 10 million euros is what we call, is done in a junior share class. It's a junior tranche. And why is this important? The junior share class is basically taking more risk, is basically making, we take more of the risk as an investor in this fund than the other investors. And by taking more risk and by absorbing some of the maybe potentially losses, it makes it less risky for other investors, for private sector investors and other investors to come into this fund. So we hope and we expect this to be a very good sign for other investors to come into this fund. We're the first external investor, and therefore again we hope that this creates momentum and it will kickstart the fundraising for the fund. We also, as EIB, we have a reputation that we've been making venture capital investments for decades, and when we come into a fund, we've often been told by other investors it's somewhat a sign of approval. It's a stamp of approval. If we've completed our due diligence, it gives a sign to other investors that this is hopefully a good fund, and many things are in place for this fund to be a success, and therefore this sends a signal to other investors again that gives comfort for them to make a commitment. I've already mentioned that what the fund provides and what we provide to the fund is equity, which is crucial for private sector economy and it's crucial for startups. I cannot express that enough. Without equity there is no debt, basically. Debt always follows later. What I also like about, and what we as EIB like about the fund, it supports young, early stage, innovative Kenyan businesses. And it supports them to grow, to recruit talented people, and to expand both locally and in the wider region. They are creating real jobs, high-value jobs, really, quality jobs for the local population, and really supporting in that way the real economy here, which again, as we know, is very useful at this point in time. The fund also supports gender equality. Part of the fund will back businesses led by women. Again, a policy angle that we at EIB strongly support. And finally, I would like to mention that by supporting this fund, we hope to stimulate the creation of an ecosystem here in Kenya. There is already a venture capital ecosystem here, but by supporting a new fund manager that hopefully will become successful, will hopefully raise a second fund in a few years' time with more capital, so they can continue supporting businesses and more businesses and to support these companies for longer. So it's also an important sign to the ecosystem here, and hopefully a stepping stone to an even better Kenyan private sector venture capital ecosystem. And then finally, before I conclude, just a few words on the program we are using for the junior tranche. So out of the 30 million, as I explained, 10 million is a high risk tranche, the junior tranche. We use the Boost Africa blending facility for this investment. Boost Africa is a joint initiative with the African Development Bank. It's a very nice example of how the African Development Bank and us at the EIB are working together. The facility focuses on enabling and enhancing entrepreneurship and innovation across Africa in a commercial, viable way. It was a small program. It was 30 million euros for the EIB, meaning we have been able to support 3 fund managers, each with a 10 million euro ticket. This is the last investment we make from the initial program. So we've invested in a fund in West Africa, in Nigeria, and here the fund. They focus regionally, but they have a strong focus on East Africa, so a nice diversification. And I have also some good news, because we are currently in an advanced stage for a follow-up program on Boost Africa, and the second program will be 5 times bigger. So we are hoping to launch later this year a more than 150 million euro program that is again here to support African venture capital funds and young companies. Then finally, unfortunately, my last comment, unfortunately my colleague from the European Commission who was supposed to be here, his flight was delayed. I would like to thank the European Commission. They are without their support, we at the EIB could not do it alone. They are a strong supporter by giving us guarantees. And therefore, I also like to really thank the European Commission and the European Union for providing us with that support. That's it. These are my remarks. I have also 2 colleagues in the room here, Harriet and Rasheka, so if there are any questions later on, feel free to ask me or feel free to ask my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Ed. There's been a lot of work behind it.
Handshake. Or maybe we hold. It would be nice. Thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you.